soil is just not a particle of sand. Soil is not just a particle of clay. Soil is not just a particle of silt. Soil is a living community. Soil supports a lot of life. Soil is something that is breathing. It is just breathing like us. When we say we are breathing through the lungs, soil is also a living entity which is breathing. Whenever we talk about growing something, we talk about what do we feed the plants? What do we feed the plants? This is something even all most of the people who are growing food, what do we feed the plants is a common question that comes to our minds. But I think, why are we not thinking about what do we feed our soils? It should be from a perspective of feeding the soil but not the plant. When we feed the soil, that is when the plant is going to uptake the nutrition, and when you eat the plant, that is when we get the nutrition from the plant. So soil health, what we are feeding the soil is going to the plant. What's going to the plant is what's coming to us. If you're adding something that can degrade, it could be books, it could be cardboard, anything that is decomposable, it acts like a sponge. But anything that is unnatural, anything that is non-biodegradable is being dumped into the soil, it just rejects it. So this is all causing to the death of the life that is in the soil. When we burn the organic matter, when we burn the leaves that are dropped in our houses, in our backyards, in our front yards, in our parks, in our farms, this is what we are doing. We are not giving the food to the life in the organisms, and hence the lack of life in the soil. So we need to let them be, let the leaf be, let the microorganisms do those job and decompose. What we are lacking nowadays is a patience, right? We cannot wait until the leaf break down on its own. Either you want to break it down or you want to burn it off. So we need to change that perspective. This is Sneha, and I'm not an agronomist. I'm not a soil scientist. I don't have any specialization that I did as an academical course, but I think it's an experience that I had since childhood, and the last 10 years of experience working with the community, working with the soil, working with the farmers, and observing the soil from different places. Working with the soil is that is how I've got the knowledge and the experience working with the soil. So I'm here to share what I feel about soil and why is it important that we all have to see soil in a way that we see. So what comes to our minds generally when we talk about soils, we always address soil as soil. But I think now we are in a time that it is important for all of us to address soil as a living component, as a living entity, and as a living ecosystem, right? Why is it important? Like, why is it important now is a question that comes. It is because the respect that we have towards soil, the needs of the soil are not being considered, and we have been treating it like any other entity, mostly like a trash or mostly like a dustbin. And that is why we are in a state of the current state of affairs with the soil has been really bad, that we need to see it as a living entity, and we need to respect it. It deserves the respect that it deserves, because since the moment we wake up in the morning till the night, every activity we do, including eating, including standing, including sleeping, including growing food, including driving in our vehicles, everything is something that we do on the soil. We eat on the soil, we eat from the soil, we sleep on the soil, we live on the soil, we drive on the soil, and when we die, we go back to the soil. Right? So every activity that we do from the beginning of the day to the end of the day or end of our life is dependent on soil, yet we don't respect or give the respect that the soil deserves. And when we say living soil, why are living soils? Why isn't just the soil? Because if we all look at how a human system works, and we see how soil as a system works, it is almost similar, right? But we don't see it from that perspective. We always need to compare how soil as a living system works and human as a living system is working. In permaculture, we say something called systems thinking. Systems thinking is an approach where you look at any aspect from not just a element as an element or a part of the system, but as an entirety. So just like how human body has different kinds of life that is working within us, even soil has the same kind of system. Like we talk about these days, there's a lot of talk about gut microbiome, right? Gut microbiota. So my gut doesn't have enough life in it. So, and hence I'm having depression, or somebody has something else. And so see the close relation. So it is not just me or you as a human who's working as a single entity, but the life that is in the human body who's working together with the human body to make us what we are, to function as a healthy human being. And it is the same case with the soil. So soil is just not a particle of sand. Soil is not just a particle of clay. Soil is not just a particle of silt. Soil is a living community. Soil supports a lot of life. Soil is something that is breathing. It is just breathing like us. When we say we are breathing through the lungs, soil is also a living entity which is breathing. And when we talk about the air spaces in the soil or the pores in the soil, that is how it is functioning as the lungs of the soil. And we talk about how digestion is happening within the human body. And if you look at soil, there is decomposition that is happening. There is plant growth that is happening. So there is reproduction happening, just like in humans. There is decomposition that's happening. There is excretion that is happening in terms of excess salts, and the soil just dumps it back and forms layer on the top layer. So if you look at each system within humans and within the soil, we are similar, functioning in similar ways. And why do we see it as something that is just there? Why do we just see soil as something that is just there? And soil has often, we've always seen soil as something that grows for us and something that we can grow, but not something as a living entity by itself. It's a organism by itself. And whenever we talk about growing something, we talk about what do we feed the plants? What do we feed the plants? This is something even all most of the people who are growing food, what do we feed the plants is a common question that comes to our minds. But I think, why are we not thinking about what do we feed our soils? It should be from a perspective of feeding the soil, but not the plant. When we feed the soil, that is when the plant is going to uptake the nutrition, and when you eat the plant, that is when we get the nutrition from the plant. So soil health, what we are feeding the soil is going to the plant, what's going to the plant is what's coming to us. So it's all interlinked. We cannot see it as three separate parts or three separate things, but all as a, if one is affected, the other one is going to get affected. If the plant health is affected, then we are affected. So we have to see it as a closed loop system, where anything affecting in the whole system is going to impact each other elements that exist. When we talk about soils, again, when we talk about life in the soil, when we talk about biodiversity, we talk a lot about biodiversity as well. So often when we talk about biodiversity, we talk about birds, we talk about insects, we talk about animals, mostly the mammals, which are the bigger ones that are visible to us. It could be tiger. There's a lot of Save Tiger campaign, Save Elephant, or a lot of the things for the macro animals that you're looking at, the mammals. But when we talk about diversity, we hardly think about the life that is in the soil, the arthropods, the insects that are in the soil, and the microorganisms. When we talk about microorganisms, we always think, okay, the tiny ones which are not visible to the naked eye. But there are a lot of things that live in the soil which are still visible to our naked eye. All the insects that we are talking about, all the bugs, all the ground beetles that we are talking, these are all visible beings. Yet when we talk about biodiversity, it always comes back to our mind as elephants or tigers or something else, but not the life in the soil. And even when in the school that we are talking about food cycle, about we are so much focused on the food web or food chains in the schools that focuses on a snake eating a rat or a tiger eating a deer or a black buck. It's something like that, but there is also some other life cycle. There is also some other food chain that exists in nature, without which whatever we are talking about, the bigger animals do not exist. So that is called the soil food web. So Just like how we have a food web above the ground, there is a similar food web that is happening right beneath our feet. Right beneath our feet, thousands and millions and billions of organisms are coming to play, acting together, working together as communities, and being a source of food for the animals that are above the ground. So if that missing link doesn't exist, then we don't see whatever diversity we're talking about above the ground. So the life in the soil is playing a major role for whatever we are seeing above the ground. All the plants, all the life, all the food, all the animals that are bigger compared to the tinier ones are all surviving because of those tiny ones who are working day and night in the soil. Sure. So this is a soil food web we are talking about. So soil is a combination of your fungi, there is bacteria, there is nematodes, there is mites. As you go, those are all the smaller ones, and you see the last ones who's getting the food there is a bird or the earthworm or this beetle that exists. So imagine this one of this link is missing. If we that is connecting to the top level, which is a bird, I'll just play a video and you can easily see. So whatever's happening here is the one that's happening at a microscopic level. So from here is when you see that one that is visible to the naked eye. So imagine if all of these things that we are seeing here in the microscopic level is all gone, how will the food chain on the above like this exist if that is gone? You understand? So they both are interlinked. So the life in the soil is very important. So when we talk about soil, if you look at the comparison of soil being a sponge, it is a sponge. You all know the sponge, right? It could be the duster that we use in the classrooms to rub the board. So the soil is like a sponge. And what does the sponge have? It has a lot of air spaces like pores. And when we add the water from the top, it absorbs the water. So imagine we being on that sponge for like 100 days, 1,000 days, and just using that sponge as a medium under our feet, keeping things that are heavier than something that it can bear. What is happening to that sponge? What happens to that sponge? Eventually, it compacts, right? There is a lot of compaction that is happening. And in this process, the pores that we are looking at are crushed and you don't see anything that it can take. So even if you add water from the top, it just stands on the top, but it doesn't take inside, right? So imagine if we are using things like heavy machinery, dumping in a lot of chemicals into the soil. This is what is happening. The soil, which is like a sponge, is becoming compacted and very hard that no life in the soil can breathe. So imagine a hard ball and you ask to poke our finger in it. The finger doesn't get inside, right? It's so even if the life that is in the soil is trying to get inside that hard soil, it cannot because the soil is super hard. So the actions that we are doing with the soil currently, be it concretizing the soil where there is no water, that we are letting the water go into the soil, usage of heavy machinery, dumping of a lot of plastic, all of these are all some things that are not letting the soil be itself, not act like a sponge anymore. Because if you're adding something that can degrade, it could be books, it could be cardboard, anything that is decomposable, it acts like a sponge. But anything that is unnatural, anything that is non-biodegradable is being dumped into the soil, it just rejects it. So this is all causing to the death of the life that is in the soil. And I would just, so we might have always thought about 1 teaspoon of soil has thousands of billions of microorganisms in it. But how many of us really see that happening? We don't really see, so it doesn't really matter to us, right? I would just like to show you a small video that I put a small sample of soil that I put under the microscope, and the soil was collected from under a mango tree where the leaf and litter has been undisturbed for quite a while. And you can just focus on one thing here and you can see all the life that is moving. Just focus on one thing and you can see the entire screen moving. Do you see that? And so imagine it's just 1 teaspoon of soil, and from that 1 teaspoon, just one drop of water was put on the slide. And you see hundreds and thousands of life that are moving in that one person. So imagine how much of life exists in every footstep we walk, every kilo, everywhere that exists. And if the same thing is same pinch of soil that I've collected from different places where the soil is naked, soil is not being treated with respect, soil is being dumped with chemicals and pesticides and all sorts of things, the life that existed in that soils there was no movement. So forget about this slide being having good bacteria, bad bacteria, or good or bad things. There is life that exists. That's one thing. And there is soil that is collected from any other place which has not been treated well. And you look, and I looked at it under the microscope, you absolutely see very less movement happening. So with all our practices that we are doing, we are killing so much of life, which is the essence, which is what sustains us on this planet today. So when we talk about, again, life, I just wanted to show some slides of how we just underestimate the life that exists, be it from the small ant to a millipede or a centipede. We underestimate them. What do they do? Okay, they eat this, they do that. But how are they connected to soil? How is it important? So here in this picture, you see some driver ants that are feeding on mango pulp. So I just tossed some mangoes after eating outside for the cattle to come and eat. And the next day morning, I see this happening. And you see what's happening in the video. So when I put it, it was just the mango. The next day morning, there is life that has come to it, and it is all surrounded by soil. So the ants were eating the mango pulp. They were taking the seed inside, and they were bringing the soil up. And this scene is from a place where it is extremely hard lateritic soil. And imagine if the ants are able to bring such small, fine particles of soil from the layers of the ground to the top of something else and trying to decompose it. So they are not just acting as something that they are feeding on a material, but also as organisms that are making the soil porous. So imagine how many of the organisms, just like ants, we thought were something else, are doing all such activities in the ground, and without which we would not really exist. And also a lot of even the millipedes that I'm showing here on the slide on the left is a millipede. So the moment we see these millipedes, there is this icky feeling that people put on their face. Oh, why do they come in the monsoon? Why are they everywhere? Why so many hundreds and hundreds of them? But why are they there? Is because there is food. So what is that food? The food that the life in the soil needs is organic matter. So organic matter is the leaves, is the dry things that are falling off the tree, all of that is there. What we end up doing with that organic matter is, be it in the cities or be it in the rural farmer level, in the urban, if it's in the parks, we end up burning all of it. And if it's in the rural setting, the farmers all burn the crop residue because they feel that it's occupying so much space in the farm. So they end up burning. So in this process of burning, we are not giving food or letting the food be for the soil, for the life in the soil. So it is important that give that food back to them. So what do we have to do when we talk about giving the food back? Is it something that we really have to give them food? I don't think they are in a state for us to give them something. They already have things existed in nature. Nature is providing them everything. But we are in between breaking that cycle of nature providing them something, and we are removing that. It's just like offering them, nature's offering them food, and then suddenly I go and snatch away the plate in front of them. Right? When we burn the organic matter, when we burn the leaves that are dropped in our houses, in our backyards, in our front yards, in our parks, in our farms, this is what we are doing. We are not giving the food to the life in the organisms, and hence the lack of life in the soil. So we need to let them be, let the leaf be, let the microorganisms do those job and decompose. What we are lacking nowadays is a patience. Right? We cannot wait until the leaf break down on its own. Either you want to break it down or you want to burn it off. So we need to change that perspective of seeing soil as an abiotic factor. It is a living entity, and it supports millions of life, and all the life that is existing in the soil needs food to eat, and we are depriving the soil of it. In fact, not just depriving, but whatever the actions we are doing, we are poisoning the soil, we are abusing it, we are misusing the soil as a living entity. And in this image, you can see some millipede and some millipede casting there. And also there is some earthworm castings. These are the poop of the organisms. So these organisms are there because there is food that's available, and they're feeding on the food that is bigger and breaking it down to the particles that the soil can actually absorb. So directly as a leaf, if you put it, it is not able to function. It needs the life in the soil to break it down to the finest of the substances for the plant to uptake. So when we talk about vermicomposting, we add worms, right? It is so sad that the state of affairs is we end up buying earthworms in the market. So it is not just the earthworms. I know earthworms are playing a very big role. At the same time, there is also other life. We need diversity of life. When we talk about diversity in plants, when we talk about diversity in food that we are eating, even in the organisms in the soil, it is not just one organism that is doing a lot of job. It is a combination of organisms. So we need to let them all be. We need to let them do their job. And every time they eat something and they excrete something, they're not just excreting out waste. That is all very rich, nutritious material that the soil and the plant requires. Even here in the video, you can see some organisms, the red velvet mites in the picture. Here, they might not be directly contributing to the soil or the breakdown, but they are making spaces in the soil. You see the small hole that they've created. So each hole that an organism, so these are surface level organisms. Earthworms are deeper level organisms. And at different layers of the soil, we have different layers of organisms that exist. And here, the small hole that these organisms have created is helping is aerating the soil, which means the air is going into the soil and aerating the soil. And when there is rain, it is helping the rain go inside the soil, right? So imagine I'm just showing some organisms, but how many organisms do exist and how many are soil dwelling organisms who are doing a lot of this work for us without us paying anything, without us asking for anything, right? I would just like to show another video of how the earthworms, do you see the bubbles coming out of the water of the soil here, the bubbles that are coming out? So this is what happens when it's raining. So the earthworms have come out of that soil, and there is a burrow it has created underneath. There is tunnels underneath. And whenever the rain is happening, there is air that's coming out, there's water that's going inside. So they are harvesting water, right? Like we are all thinking of digging trenches, doing water harvesting, trails, percolation tanks. I think nature has got its own workers or own co-partners who are doing it for free of cost. And we are removing all those organisms by our actions and saying, okay, I will get this, I will get a JCB, I do the trenching, I do the water harvesting. So if this is there, half of the work is done by them. We are just increasing the load of work on us by, again, killing them by our ways, or not making them, suffocating them by adding things like cement or I'm just talking about how compaction and how are we using certain materials is causing so much destruction to the life in the soil. And it's so important that we consider each of these organisms. Again, these are visible. There's also the bacteria. There is also the fungi. And whenever we talk about bacteria, we associate it the bad one, fungi, bad one. But fungi has this network of mycelium underneath it, which is holding the soil particles together. Even the bacteria, I generally give this example, when we don't brush our teeth in the night and we just go to bed, and next day morning, our teeth, when you have too many deserts, our teeth are slimy, if you all notice, if you've ever noticed. And that's all because the bacteria has released something in the mouth, which is slimy. So it's the same thing that the bacteria is also doing beneath, at the root level, at the soil level, which is holding the soil particles together. Even the fungi, the mycelium, it is like a mesh. It is like a mesh. I don't know if we generally see the mesh and gabion structures where the road, on the sides of the road, if you've ever noticed, they hold the soil together. Wherever there is hill slides happening, there's a mesh and the rocks that they put so the hill slide doesn't happen. So it's like that. The fungal networks act like a net that is holding the soil particles together. And all of this are interplaying. All of these are playing together to make the soil living, to make the soil healthy, to make the soil fertile. And it's not just we planting trees that is doing that. Here's another video that you can see how tunnels are being created in the soil by the organisms. And this video also shows how in the presence of life, the decomposition is faster. And in the absence of it, it's too late of a process. And this one is without the life in the soil. So here's an example of what's happening to the soil when we are compacting it so much. The first video shows you that there is space in between the soil particles, and when there is rain, the water is able to go till the bottom layer. But on the image on the right side, whenever there is rain, there's water that's stagnating on the top. And all the soil particles are crushed together because they are so compacted. Like the sponge example I was giving, when it's very compacted, this is how it behaves. The root is struggling, it's not able to get the water, the particles are so close, and there is no space for the life there to exist to make the burrows and walk inside. So this is what is happening with the compaction. So what can we do? What can we do to save the soil? Again, save the soil is a very big thing when we talk about saving soil. There's a lot of terms save soil, but there is no how to save the soil. Like, you understand? So first thing is sometimes don't do anything is the thing that I tell in general. We don't have to do anything. We just have to let things be as they are. We just have to let the grasses be, we let the plants be, let the organic matter be as it is. And that is how the process is happening. There is life that is breaking down, and let the natural process happen by itself. Or facilitate the process. Be someone who is facilitating the process in a better way, or making up space where that process is happening, not in a very random way. But do not take away the entire thing. Like, do not burn it. Do not remove the entire element just because we don't have time or we are not able to access it. But we can facilitate things to happen in a better way. Composting is a good thing. Growing vegetation, grow something in the spaces, because if any plant that we are growing, it could be a smallest of the smallest one to the biggest of the biggest one that we are growing. When we plant a tree, when we plant any kind of vegetation on the soil, it is not just that we are doing for the sake of planting. We talk about giving annadanam to people. So this is, maybe we give annadanam to people for 100 people at one go, maybe in a year. But if you are planting something, if you are growing vegetation, it is the annadanam, the good deed that you are going to get for your lifetime, for all of our lifetimes, because it is something that is going to do function in multiple ways. It is giving people food, it is giving the soil food, it is giving the life in the soil the food, right? It is giving everyone something. It is holding the soil together. The roots are holding the soil together. It is forming an ecosystem of its own. So imagine if you ask me, do something for the soil, Sneha, or will you buy something for the ants in the soil, or will you buy something for the organisms in the soil and feed? How many of us really do that? We don't really care about what's happening. So just growing the vegetation, meaning you're feeding millions of life. So it is an annadanam that you're doing for your lifetime. So grow as much vegetation as possible. Do not keep things bare. Just like how we all are covering ourselves with clothing and all sorts of things in different seasons. Soil also has its own mechanism of growing something on it. We often consider them as weeds. We often consider, why is it growing here? Just uproot it. We don't have a plan of what we are going to end up doing there, but we just don't want anything else to grow there. That is our perspective. We just have to let things grow, that the soil wants to grow to cover herself from all the extremities of hotness or extremities of cold. And unless we have a plan, never ever disturb that space. Unless you are growing something else, do not keep the soil exposed. Do not let the life in the soil be killed. And all our actions should look at how we can reduce compaction, not concretizing the soil. People having backyards, front yards, don't like, even in our family, we see a lot of people, like, whatever space you have, you just cover it, the entire space, with nice tiles and everything, not even having a little bit of space for vegetation to grow. In this process, we are not letting the water percolate. Our bore wells are drying out. There is no water, there is no soil, there is no aeration, there is nothing that's happening. So vegetation is an answer to many of these, you know. And whatever the chemicals, whatever it could be, from the basic of the things that we are using, let's try to reduce the chemical usage in our daily life. It could be from a very small thing. It could be changing it to bioenzymes, changing to a less powerful one than the one that we are using, or changing it to, there's a lot of things that come with the plastic beads in them. Avoid them, because all of these are poisoning our soils. All of these are, where is the end point? It is either getting into the soil or it is getting into the water, which we ourselves are polluting directly. We are just poisoning it with our hands. So let's try to use things that are eco-friendly, nature-friendly, and anything any waste that we are generating, plastic is inevitable. That's there, and we all use plastic. That is a hard truth. But we can also we can also rethink of when to use it, how to use it. Is it really needed? So when we always hear about the 3 Rs, right? We talk about reduce, reuse, recycle, and this has been coming down from our school days. But let's add 2 more things to it. Rethink, do I really need it? Do I really have to get this? I want to get a milk packet from a nearby store. I go to the store and the store guy gives me another packet to hold this milk packet. Is it really needed? So rethink. No, I don't need it. So refuse saying I don't need it. I can just hold it with my bare hands and go, or I have my own bag. So these are some small things that we can do to save the soil. Any leftover water from our washing the rice, washing the dals, or whatever's left over, that we can give it back to the soil. And soil and water, they both are interlinked. We cannot really separate them and talk. And whenever we talk about water, there is rooftop rainwater harvesting that we can do. And water also takes away the soil. So try to hold the water so the soil is not run off. All the topsoil runoff happens with the bad management systems that we do. What else? Biochar is also one thing, like, because we spoke about burning earlier, how we are burning all the crop residue in the urban setting as well as the rural setting at the farmer level. Composting is one that is always there. But if we tell some people who have a bigger scale of compost residue, like the crop residue or a lot of biomass, they don't listen when you say just compost it, because it takes a lot of space. So there is also option of turning it into a biochar, where you are heating it in a very low environment, low O2, where there is low oxygen in the space, and you can add it back to the soil, which is holding more moisture in the soil, which is creating air spaces, which is creating spaces for the life in that to exist, especially in the urban settings. That can be done as well. So yeah, these are very small things that we all can do. Even if we are able to implement one of all these things, I think we are doing a great service to the soil. So there is nothing big when we say save soil. It is not something big. We all in the urban, or we don't have to come to the land and really do something with hands being in the soil. It could be from wherever we are, in whichever place we are, be it urban, rural, on the land, off the land. The small choices that we make in our daily living will make a direct impact to the soil. And like in the introduction, you said I have a background in food and nutrition, and that was always something that was coming back to my mind all the time. When you talk about nutrition, you're talking about what kind of food should people eat. I have to end up suggesting, if you're a dietitian, you'll have to suggest people, you eat this, you eat this, you eat this. But where is it actually coming from? Does it really have the nutrients that you think you're suggesting someone to have? Not really. So whatever the nutrients that we talk exist in it is not really existing in the plants, in the food that we eat. Maybe I think there's a lot of WhatsApp share of this happened earlier. If you eat one fruit of this one, then you got the optimum nutrition, but you have to eat like 3 times of it now to get that nutrition that you are supposed to get. So that is true. That is what is happening. So the nutrients that are available in the soil, if they are not in the soil, they're not in the plant. If they are not in the plant, so even if you are eating them thinking that it's going to be healthy and you're going to get those nutrients, we are not going to get those nutrients, because the source is lacking it. So ultimately, the end product that we are consuming is also going to lack. And there is a direct link between the soil health and human health or animal health. And this needs to be seen this needs to be given so much importance right now, because everything is like a catastrophe. Everything is breaking. Everything is failing now. So all these small steps that we are going to take is going to make a big impact. So we might feel, okay, just me taking a cloth bag, will it make a difference? It definitely does make a difference. It is, from whatever's being dumped into the soil, if that one act of ours is reducing some bad that's happening in the ground. So let's not feel, oh, this small act by me, will it really change the world? It will change.